Everybody, welcome back. I'm YUMBL, and today I'd like to discuss modding in City Skylines. I'd like to talk about some old favorites that everyone should have, some newcomers that not everyone knows about maybe, that I think everyone should have, and I'd like to talk about them in an alternating fashion. I'm going to go one-to-one. Here's a new mod, here's an old mod that hopefully you know about, but if you didn't, now's your chance to install it. I'm YUMBL, let's get into it. So I figured we'd start this off with something absolutely wonderful, absolutely amazing. Looking at this little scene here, you'll notice that some of the trees look a little different. Some of the trees are very high detail. This is by Delmo from the workshop. He's a wonderful asset creator. And the houses are by King Leno, another amazing asset creator. This is part of the university's asset pack. But the trees that are built into the houses leave something to be desired when compared to these nice fresh looking trees. So what we can do is actually replace those, and it's never been so easy to do. It's never been so intuitive. There have been mods that have done this in the past or claimed to do this, and they work, but it was tedious. You had to find which tree you were replacing, all this crazy stuff. So this whole area could look much better very rapidly. I've got Bob open right now. You see BOB on the mouse. It's short for Beautify Our Builds. With Bob active, you can click on an asset. I can literally see the two trees that are included, and not just that, all the trees highlighted in pink are this Coruscant pine nonsense. You know, vanilla's fine, vanilla's vanilla, but if I can take this Coruscant pine and let's say I type in common tree, and then we replace it in all buildings. So universally within buildings, this is going to replace that tree. Everywhere Coruscant pine shows up, we're going to replace it. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Boom. They're still highlighted, but that looks much better. And then the trick is you go to the U. The U is the next one with the V next to it. That means vanilla. You can see we haven't replaced these yet, so let's do it. I'm going to swap it with the same tree, actually, in all houses. And that is amazing. I've never seen something so intuitive. Like I said, there have been mods that do this in the past, but you end up going through menus trying to figure out what vanilla tree you have to replace. This has never been more intuitive. It's never been easier. I'm a big user experience person, so anytime a mod comes out that improves the user experience and streamlines the process without making it more technical, I am completely on board. So Bob is a winner in my book. Also, the same hotkey, it's Alt-N to bring up Bob, but prior to that, it'll bring up Ron, the network replacer. This is a twofer. Bob and Ron, don't forget those names. Ron is replace our networks, and it works the same way, but with roads in your city. I don't need to use it right now. I'm not, it's okay. I have to go around and do the rest of the trees in the city, actually, now that I've got this. But same concept. I can select a road on the left, and I can select a replacement network on the right. Bob and Ron are newcomers to the modding scene, but I'd like to draw your attention to one that is not a newcomer. This is the alternating format I was talking about. This is the first essential mod that I would say everyone should have. The first on this list, at least. Find It. We're on Find It 2 at this point, but Find It is wonderful, especially for someone who downloads a bunch of assets and can never find what they're looking for and whatnot. This menu lets you find whatever you need. Let's say I need my libraries. Boom, we've got the libraries. Let's say I want to search by keyword for fire stations. There's a bunch of different ways you can search in this. This is the most basic, like just a keyword search, but it's essential for anyone who's downloading assets from the workshop because sometimes the menus will hide them in odd places, or the asset creator will decide to put them several menus back within one of these buttons, or not within one of these buttons at all. Sometimes the only way to find things is to search for them using Find It. You can go down to specific things. You can search networks, you can search trees, you can do props, of course, unique buildings, growables, right? Ploppables versus growables. It's great. There's a separate mod that you actually need to place growables, but Find It is where it begins. RICO buildings is another one. Residential, industrial, commercial, office buildings, crucial. Decals, growable / RICO. If you want to search RICO and growable at the same time, you can do that. But Find It has been essential for years now. Since before I started playing Skylines, Find It has been essential. If you don't already have this, get it now. Our next mod is a more recent entry, but I would say it's just crucial and fundamental for obvious reasons. I'm talking about FPS Booster. This mod actually trims the fat on some processes that Cities likes to run. People have found, modders have found that there's things going on in Skylines that don't need to be going on, and you get a huge performance boost if you reduce or turn off these things, and that's what FPS Booster does for you automatically. So I'm going to go to my options menu, hit the F button repeatedly. That's a pro tip. If you're looking for a certain mod in your mod settings, especially if you haven't organized them with the mod that does that, press the button, press the first letter of the mod to find it quickly. So FPS Booster, we're here. There are some dependencies that come along with it. Overall, I think it's a very light mod, and it actually speeds up your game, which is rare. Usually mods can slow down your game more likely than speed it up. So this one, to the contrary, it says, hey, not only am I going to speed up your game automatically using the FPS Booster feature, we're going to give you some controls as well, so you can limit your game. If you find that the frame rate is inconsistent or running amok, you can turn it down if you need to. It gives you settings down below here. It actually gives you settings to change the frame rate when your game is in certain states. So the main menu doesn't have to run at 30, it doesn't have to run at 60 FPS, so maybe I'll let my main menu run at 30. That's new, I haven't checked that yet for some reason. On the loading screen, why would you want the frame rate high on the loading screen? You can reduce it. Can I reduce it further? Yes, please. I'll reduce it to 10. Perfect. When the game is paused, 15 frames is more than enough. 15 frames per second. In-game options, 30. Yeah, why not? In-game options, 30. When saving the game, 15. This is something I run into a lot, actually. I find that oftentimes, if a crash is going to occur, it happens while the game is saving. So I do recommend pausing the game, but this can act as kind of a cushion. If you forget to pause your game before saving, you can check this box and it'll automatically reduce the frame rate to 10, which probably makes it less likely that the game will crash while saving, right? Lower the frame rate when app loses focus. If I click away, I want the frame rate to stay the same, so I keep that off. Content editors, I always run at 30. So this gives you a bunch of controls, but it also works in the background very much automatically. If you don't want to come in and change any of these controls, that's totally fine, but go out and get FPS Booster right now. It's one of the best recent additions to your to a Skylines player's modding catalog. The next mod on our journey through Skylines mods is the loading screen mod. This is a mainstay. Next to all the newcomers that I've talked about so far, this is an absolute must-have, immediately download it yesterday kind of mod. It'll save you so much RAM. It's actually amazing. So loading screen mod, I've got the options open here, and this is the tip of the iceberg. What it actually does is when you load your game, when the game is loading, it gives you a detailed menu showing what assets are loading, how many assets you have, how much RAM you're using, potential page file size if Cities is spilling over into your page file system. If you download a lot of assets like I do, a lot of them can potentially share textures or share certain elements, and loading screen mod automatically takes those textures and only loads them once. I'm going to say that one more time in a different way. If a road and another road share a texture or share some sort of prop or what have you, the game by default would load those twice because it's not optimized to recognize that automatically. Loading screen mod just trims the fat completely and only loads those textures as few times as it needs to and consolidates everything. So you'll save a ton on RAM. If you're finding your game is running sluggish, loading slowly, if you want to know how much RAM Cities is using, it'll tell you at the loading screen. Additionally, the reason we're in this menu is so we can take a look at this. It'll save reports to a certain directory, right? Automatically it'll go to the developer's directory. That's pretty awesome. What this is actually doing, if you go to this directory, it'll show you a list of missing, unloaded, and duplicate assets, and the list will actually link to workshop entries of the items that you're missing. So let's say the loading screen mod, when you're starting up a game, it'll show you assets that failed to load. Those failed assets all go into this HTML file. You open it in your browser, and it's a series of links to the mods and assets that you're missing. Well, the assets that you're missing specifically. If you're missing a bush that belongs to a house, you can find what bush that is. If the new train track you downloaded doesn't have the right whatever, doesn't have the right wires, you can go see what you need, traffic lights, everything. So this is absolutely essential. It'll show you what you're missing, allow you to download it conveniently, and it'll also consolidate all of your textures automatically, saving you a ton of time, a ton of RAM. It's truly incredible. Get loading screen mod. So this one's actually another mod that I think of as essential, but I also think that not everyone is using it. Let me clue you into zoning toggle, I believe it's called, if I'm not mistaken. No, zoning toolset. Let me get the name right, and then we'll go from there. Zoning toolset is what it's called in the Steam Workshop, but what it comes with is called toggle zoning update, right? So this is the button that I use primarily when I'm using this mod. Let's say you want to deactivate the zoning squares on a given road. So an application for this might be if I wanted stores to only face, like let's say I'm going to zone in some stores. They're going to zone in wherever they want to. If I click this, they're going to show up all over. I don't want to do any of that. They're going to show up all over the place, but mainly they're going to be facing the arterial potentially, or they have a chance. Because these are sharing zoning squares, the buildings may face the arterial, and that's going to slow down traffic and create something nasty. I would want them to face this road exclusively. In steps, zoning, toggle zoning update, if you know what I'm saying, within the zoning toolset mod. You can deactivate the zoning squares. I'll start here so you can see it. Watch these. Bye-bye. So now as we turn these off, it's great. Now these, the zoning squares that we see, we can rest assured that they're facing towards this road, because this road doesn't have any zoning squares. So if you're experiencing kind of erratic zoning, you're zoning and it's facing ways you don't want it to, the squares aren't lining up the way you want them to, things like that, I strongly recommend getting zoning toolset. It's going to help you a lot when you're growing buildings in City Skylines. This next mod is an absolute no-brainer. Many of you already have this, some of you may not. I have an entire video explaining how to use it. It's Traffic Manager. So Traffic Manager is crucial for doing everything that you'd want to do to roads and networks and traffic in City Skylines. It gives you all the tools you need to create custom timed traffic lights, to add turn lanes or customize the turn lanes. You can do lane connectors to tell cars exactly where you want them to go. Don't do that too much, but you can do it a little if you want to. Sometimes it's controversial. Priority signs if you want to add yields or allow a road to be priority, or stop signs, things like that. Junction restrictions, crucial. You can allow cars into intersections or enable U-turns or enable weaving, things like that. You can change the speed limits. Okay? You want to change the speed limit? Traffic Manager. You can ban certain cars on certain roads. Traffic Manager. You can ban parking. Traffic Manager. You can clear your traffic entirely. You can also toggle automatic vehicle despawning. If you notice vehicles being deleted automatically in traffic, you can turn that off. I have a video that goes into it in depth. That's the crash course. I've been YUMBL. Let's do another one. This entry is another great one. This is a mod by Clyte called Touch This. Now, Touch This unlocks roads that are attached to assets. And what that means is, let's say right now, if I wanted to make this into a one-way road, I wouldn't be able to, right? So this is built into the asset. This is a cargo hub. This is locked right now, essentially, until touch this, click both of them. Now it's whatever you want. Now it's unlocked. You can make it a one-way road. You can change direction. Whatever you got to do to make the asset work, you can now do. And it doesn't actually affect the asset itself, it just affects the road, and it actually separates it from it entirely. So I believe I can just take this and... Nope, I was wrong. If you delete the asset, though... Haha, I was right about that one. I know some things. So the road remains because we've unlocked it using Touch This. I'd strongly recommend it just for flexibility. I bet you have a whole bunch of assets in your library that could benefit from this, because maybe there's a better road choice. Right? Do you always want a two-way road in front of your cargo station? No. Sometimes it's good to have a one-way road so the vehicles queue up in an orderly fashion. Get touch this right now. This next one is absolutely crucial in my opinion. This is RICO Revisited, right? You can see it highlighted down there in the bottom left. RICO, I mentioned it earlier, residential, industrial, commercial offices. It's the growable system in City Skylines, or the demand system, perhaps, in City Skylines might be more accurate if you use this mod. It allows you to convert unique buildings into RICO buildings. So you can create you can take a unique building that usually acts almost like a park, and it converts it into a place where people can live, or people can work, or people can shop, whatever you designate it as. But it does way more than that. I have a video that goes into depth. If you look for my video called Realism in Skylines, or something to that effect, building realistic cities perhaps, that will show you in depth how you can use RICO. But I just want to point out another side effect of having RICO, and a good one at that, is that you can use Find It. We spoke about it earlier. If you use Find It to find a growable asset that you like, and you try to plop that without RICO, it's not going to work. Without RICO Revisited, the building will disappear. If it's a building that's only supposed to grow within a given zoning, it'll actually disappear. So make sure that you get RICO Revisited. Make sure that this is checked. RICO growable buildings, right? Instantly plop, rather. There was another mod that used to handle this, but now it's rolled into this one. So this just means that you can put whatever growable building you want wherever you want. You can also handle ploppable options, complaint options if you're getting some silly complaints that you want to avoid and just ignore entirely. You can turn off certain things, additional options. Yeah, RICO Revisited is amazing. If you want to plop buildings that usually grow, get RICO Revisited. If you want to convert unique buildings into buildings that people can live in, work in, shop in, get RICO Revisited. The next mod is one of my personal favorites. It's Intersection Marking Tool. If you've been playing Skylines for a little while, or if you've played the vanilla version, you know that the space where roads all connect, so the node where the road connects, it's usually a blank, empty area. It looks a lot like, I'll go to my other interchange here. This one is not marked, so you can see that there's a bit of ambiguity when you're approaching the intersection. There's nothing there. These are used, I used another mod to stretch them out a bit. We'll go over that later, but these are unmarked and they look kind of weird, right? So you can totally erase that ambiguity by marking up your intersection using Intersection Marking Tool, and you can get as complex as you want. This is probably one of the most complex markings that I've done with Intersection Marking Tool. There's a bit of a learning curve. It'll take a little messing around with it to get used to the flow. I do have a video that details the inner working, or not the inner workings, but the how to use the Intersection Marking Tool to your advantage, and you can do a lot of really cool stuff with it. Not only can you make markings in the road, you can also designate a curb. You know, you can say that this is pavement, so this is like a little curb almost in the situation. This one probably shouldn't be a curb, but I like that this one is, and I like that this one is. And you can get as complicated as you want. You can also do crosswalks with it. As I said before, I've got a video detailing how to use it. Please feel free to check out that video if you want to learn how to use Intersection Marking Tool. Our next mod is one of the heaviest hitters in Skylines mod history. Of course, I'm talking about Move It. Move It is how you move it. Okay, moving on. No, it's how you literally manipulate any object in the game. So look at this. I can click on the nodes of this by holding Shift. I can move it around. You know, where are we going to put it? Let's put it over here. Ready? Easy. If you hold Alt, it snaps in position on the grid. If it's next to a road, it'll snap to the road grid. If you wanted to, say, increase the slope, you can click a node, hold page up, it increases the slope. If you select a series of nodes and hit slope objects, it actually does the math for you and does a nice even slope on that. All kinds of great things can happen with Move It. All kinds of incredible things. If you want to line up objects, you can do that too. Let's see what the result of this is. Yep, that was weird. So anyway, Move It's really good. It gives you a lot of flexibility. It allows you to move things around. It allows you to snap objects. You can use it on everything in the game except for terrain, I think, as far as I know. I can't. Terrain and water are probably the only exceptions. But any object in the game is your playground to mess with. You can also use the marquee tool here. If you want it to only select nodes and avoid the trees, you can do that. If you want it to, you know, any combination of things here. You can select it, you can deselect it, you can move it, you can manipulate it. It's one of the most powerful mods in the game. A tutorial on it is outside of the scope of this, but check out my friend Slay3K. He actually made a tutorial video about how to use the current version of Move It. It's amazing. Another great Cities player, another great video creator. Check out that vid for more information, but make sure you get Move It if you don't already have it. Easily one of the greatest mods to bless the Skylines community recently is Node Controller. Now, Node Controller you can use it as deeply as you want to, but for our purposes here, I want to show you what it does essentially automatically. You can hit make ends straight, boom, the node is controlled. Look at that. You can increase the offset of all three of these, and it makes the exit smoother. If we decided to use intersection marking tool, this would be an amazing kind of smooth exit for vehicles to use. I have an in-depth video on this that just came out a few weeks ago. Feel free to check out my tutorial on Node Controller. But honestly, it's just amazing. It takes what is completely unrealistic and kind of awkward. I even did a pretty good job on this. Like that's a pretty good connection, all things considered. But it leaves a lot to be desired. And with Node Controller, really quickly you can absolutely make something crazy. A lot of automatic adjustments. Feel free to check out that video if you want to see how to automatically adjust your intersections to make them way more realistic. Node Controller. This next one is real easy to appreciate. It's called Precision Engineering, and what it actually does is gives you the angle and length of the network that you're building. So you see that 90 degrees, those two 90 degrees there, and that 14 unit, that's all Precision Engineering. If you hit Shift, it shows you the other angle there, and it'll show you distances from other nodes, like it's showing that yellow line in the top right is Precision Engineering. You can also use it to snap to angles. So you see how this is kind of sweeping through the array of angles and then snapping at the end. If you hold Control, you can actually do it. If you want to get a 45-degree angle, hold Control and it's easy to get a 45, whereas without holding Control, you're kind of freehanding it. So Precision Engineering, I'd say it's essential. Probably should have been included with the game, but it's been added in the form of a mod. It's a very old mod at this point. Get Precision Engineering. Now, stop me if you heard this one. Your intersections are all marked, your nodes are controlled, you've automatically built a roundabout, you automatically built a pedestrian overpass. That's a lot of mods, that's a lot of buttons. Where are you going to put all those buttons now? You can't put them in your pockets, that doesn't make sense, that's silly. Stop being silly. You can put them in UnifiedUI. It's a mod, it's a great little button that nests all these other buttons within it. I don't really use the other mods I mentioned, but certainly it works for intersection marking tool and node controller, which I use together all the time. I'll use them on the same node, one right after the other, so it's great. They've developed a button that holds those. There are other UI buttons out there for different purposes. As you can see, the modded Skylines buttons are out of control. There's buttons down here, there's buttons over there, buttons in the corner, there's buttons everywhere. It rhymed. But UnifiedUI makes it so there's a few less buttons. So get UnifiedUI and any other UI mods that might allow you to save a little visual headroom on your Skylines UI. This next set of mods is a powerhouse. It's actually kind of unbelievable. Let's say you want to build an elevated road, but you don't want it to be elevated. You just want it to be kind of in the air but grounded. You can manipulate that really easily. Boom. In steps Fine Road Anarchy and Fine Road Tools. So this little box down here is actually Fine Road Tools. The one at the bottom is Fine Road Anarchy. And there's a third one that I strongly recommend. It's called Max Segment Length. I forget the name of the mod. I'll put look in the description. You'll see it linked. It's by Cuboid, but it allows you to make evenly lengthed segments of different lengths. But anyways, this is the interface. If you wanted to make an elevated version, we can upgrade the road to switch it back to elevated. If you want it to just do by default whatever it does, that's fine. You can do that. Anarchy is also important because Anarchy allows you to build whatever you want. Without Anarchy, well, okay, I've turned collision off. Without Anarchy, with collision, you cannot do these things. It's not possible. Collision is a whole separate thing. It's a little different from Anarchy. Collision means that things won't get deleted when you build through them. So I usually build with collision on because I like to control that type of stuff. But all of these options can be controlled with Fine Road Tools and Fine Road Anarchy. I would strongly recommend them. They're going to make your builds much more powerful. We have made it, everyone. We're at the final mod on the list, and this is a bit of a doozy. It's a bit of a big one. More of a newcomer to the scene, but Cuboid knocked it out of the park once again. I'm talking about Picker. Picker is this eyedropper tool in the bottom right corner. Once you've selected it, you can select anything, and it will automatically bring up the menu for that item. So let's say you're building something with a lot of different networks, or buildings, or trees, or props, or anything, and you want to navigate to that thing quickly, without having to go in and say, oh, let me find that tree that I was using real quick, and you scroll through your million trees. No, don't do that. Just use Picker and click on whatever you want, and it'll bring it up automatically in the menu. Sometimes it'll open Find It, so it works great in conjunction with Find It. It also has a Move It integration as well. So these things all work together seamlessly. I recommend all the mods I just mentioned, but Find It is going to save you, Picker is going to save you a ton of time in your more complex builds. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out. Really cannot thank you enough for doing what you're doing and being here, liking the videos, subscribing to the channel, commenting. You know, let me know if you have questions about these mods, or this is not a comprehensive list by any means. I'm sure that I've missed most of the mods that exist, and probably many of them are useful and things like that, but what is that tree doing there? Okay, well, I'll fix that later. But yeah, I really appreciate it. Appreciate you being here. Feel free to join the Discord if you'd like. If you have questions, if you comments, memes, whatever you want. And also feel free to follow me over on Twitch. I stream 2 to 3 times a week. Come over there and have some laughs and hang out, and we'll keep building this city. Everyone, thank you so much. I'll see you in the next stream or the next video.